Well, an important tool in most offices today, projectors, and becoming increasingly popular in homes as well for home theater. What I want to talk about, though, are the screens, what you're projecting against. I've got Mark Owen from Stewart Film Screens with us today. Thanks for joining me.
Happy to be here.
Well, I know that if I were to buy a projector, I'd probably want to cheap out on the screen because I've already spent thousands of dollars on the unit itself, and the screen doesn't really seem to be really technology related, in my opinion. A lot of people are projecting images against a wall. Is there much difference between like a white wall and a film screen?
Probably the least understood component in that chain is the screen itself. Part of what you pay for it when you go to the professional cinema, shall we call it, to spend your $14 or what have you for the full theater experience, is an incredibly clear film-like image coming off a screen that was probably built by Stewart Film Screen. 60 years in the business, we build the only full-on seamless screens. We can actually build you one that's 40 feet high and 90 feet wide if you need one without a seam.
I haven't got a house that big yet.
Not yet. In the home, however, the same principles apply. We're trying to get a very theater-like experience to occur, and it's the screen that you watch, not the projector.
I know a lot of people that have just basically painted a wall white, and to their eye it looks pretty good. I mean, are they going to notice a big difference between?
Here's what they'll notice, Mike. If you project a good, strong, dynamic image onto a proper reflective surface, first of all, the color balance is going to be correct. Secondly, you're not going to be as aware of the surface. In fact, if we're truly successful, the delivery system just kind of goes away. You're no longer aware that you're looking at a flat two-dimensional surface. It's like opening a window and seeing the action on the other side. So that, plus the fact that now you will not have the side walls, floor, ceiling, contributing their reflected images or their reflected light back into the screen area and washing out your contrast. So you will get good strong blacks and good color saturation.
Is there an optimum place to place a projector? What about most people hang them on the ceilings?
That actually works perfectly with the technology that we're working with, because we describe our screen materials. I've got a sample of one here. We describe our screen materials as being angular reflective. The wording should give you a clue.
A little higher there.
Yeah, let's just hang that a little straight.
This is gray.
This is actually a gray material.
White screens are white.
White screens aren't white.
No.
We were saddled with white screens from the days of trying to get the overhead projector to work in the classroom. White being as reflective as we could get, and some schools were even going to silver screens, the expression of the silver screen. When we go to a gray screen, we actually enhance the ability of the projector to produce the contrast that we want. In other words, that color image is first and foremost made up of a whole range of grayscales from very black all the way through to white. And we don't ever get that proper black for contrast unless we've got some assistance here at the screen level. We then take that angular reflective coating and use that to manipulate the light and turn it back towards the viewer and keep it away from the side walls. We've diminished what we call the viewing cone intentionally, so that we end up with a brighter, punchier image and without the washout that comes off the side walls.
I find this amazing. I thought there was a heck of a lot to know about the projectors, but it really seems that the screen is a really important consideration in that.
Part of the chain. Yep.
Most people want to try to save money on that. I would go to a flea market to try to buy a screen, but obviously if I've paid $4,000 or $5,000 for a projector, just bouncing that image off a wall isn't really getting the most out of it, is it?
It really wouldn't, and it's probably one of the most common questions I get, and in fact I've in some instances advised that we reduce the projector budget a little so that we can fit a decent screen in there, because the screen's going to be on the wall for a long time. It's going to be part of that permanent installation in that theater or media room, and very likely will outlive several projectors. Something as well built as a Stewart Film Screen will have an appropriate place in that system, in that chain, for a good long while. Again, it is the screen that you watch.
Okay, how much we're talking? I've seen screens as little as a couple $100.
Right. Well,
how much for a half-decent screen?
You won't find that from us, but our most popular model that we call the Lexus Screenwall Deluxe. Imagine 2 3/4 inch black velvet frame. We use that black Velux material because it actually gray material like that throughout, with a slight amount of screen gain, so that it in fact narrows the viewing cone and helps pick up the contrast a little bit. The 80-inch that I have hanging on my wall, 80-inch diagonal based on a 16 by 9 aspect ratio.
That's huge.
That's a big TV. That's a big TV. That would have been, when I paid for it, would have been about $1,700. So a little more money, but
how long do they last, though?
Lifetime.
Okay.
They'll last a lifetime.
They'll last longer than your projector will.
Far, far longer than your projector. Occasionally we've had somebody come back to us and say, I think things have changed. Can I get new material applied to my screen frame? And for about half the money we've been able to rescreen with more contemporary materials like this so that we can get that dynamic contrast to happen. So.
Well, this almost kind of makes sense to me now. I want to thank you really much for coming on the show. Where can people find out more information about this?
You can go to stewartfilmscreen.com and you'll see a lot of information there. I would also suggest that any of the more prominent home theater forums like projectorcentral.com talks about screen materials, not just ours, but inevitably reviews ours quite favorably because it does pick up the performance of your whole home theater performance system.
Well, there you have it. We've got Mark Owen from Stewart Film Screens talking about screens and how it's kind of important to have a good screen when you're projecting that image.